What's up, everybody? Andrew Mahone here with Tricky Jim at Full Grip Games. Going to be showing off the tournament here at Full Grip tonight, featuring new cards from Team Up. On the left, we've got Jarrett Mesher, and on the right, we've got Jesse Parker. These two have some new decks from Team Up to show off for us. We see Jarrett Mesher has a Zapdos deck, and Jesse Parker is playing a spicy Gengar and Mimikyu Tag Team GX deck, which also features the new Omastar. The Omastar's got a pretty cool ability that locks your opponent out of using items if you have less Pokemon in play than your opponent. So that's exciting. I'm interested to see how this new deck squares up against an already proven archetype in the Zapdos deck. Should be an exciting match for sure. We see those players have got the nice aluminum GX counters. Excited about those that I have for the stream. And wow, looks like a reverse foil. Is that an Oracle, potentially? A reverse foil Oracle GX counter on Jarrett's side. Very cool. I know Jarrett collects old cards, as do I. That is a very nice foil Oracle there. These players are getting geared up and ready to go. Should be a 4-round tournament here at Full Grip tonight, where players are competing for store credit and, of course, bragging rights to be the Wednesday night champion here at Full Grip Games. Players are going to shake hands and get started. We've got Jesse Parker starting off here with Gengar Mimikyu Tag Team GX on the right. And, of course, Jarrett is going to take this opportunity to read the card because, let's be honest, not a lot of experience with that Gengar Mimikyu card yet. It's not exactly meta yet, but it is a fun deck for sure, and I'm excited to see if it works the way that Jesse had explained it to me prior to the tournament here. Looks like we've got some sort of fossil excavation map, some sort of fossil thing. Gonna allow him to start to get those fossils into play to evolve up into Omastar. Now, Jesse is going to have to watch his bench size because he cannot have more Pokemon in play than Jarrett in order to keep that lock on. So that's something we're going to have to look out for. Now, Zapdos decks don't actually have to play a ton of Pokemon down to the bench. That's kind of an interesting thing that they got going on. It should be an interaction that we see come into play during the course of this match because Zapdos really only needs a Zapdos and a Jirachi to kind of set up. So 2 Pokemon really is all Zapdos needs, maybe 3. But I guess Jesse is kind of banking on only having 2 Pokemon in play. Looks like it is Jarrett's turn here. He's got Zapdos as his active Pokemon. Lots of beautiful Wizards of the Coast lightning energies in his hand. I love those Wizards of the Coast promo lightnings. So beautiful. The whole full hollow on the front of the card. Definitely exceptional looking. We see Jarrett eyeing up a Tapu Lele GX as well. He's got a Lily in his hand and a couple of Electro Powers. A weird hand for sure. You don't want to have to burn down all these Electro Powers this turn. However, you might want to, since you know you're about to get item locked, right? The way Jesse was explaining this matchup to me, he was saying it as if he knew he was going to get the turn 2 item lock with that Omastar. He was very confident. I was perhaps not as confident. I'm always a little weary about, so you say your stage 2 deck is going to get a stage 2 into play on turn 2. I'm always a little bit weary of that, but of course it could happen with the right draws. So we'll see what he's got. Jarrett using Tapu Lele's Wonder Tag to go get a supporter out of the deck, and he might be choosing a Cynthia here or a Volkner. It looks like he's got a Volkner selected. May choose to go get a Jirachi or an Ultra Ball or something like that. I suspect that Jarrett is just playing a Pikachu Zekrom deck, I think, with the Ultra Ball engine, the Tapu Lele. It makes me think that he is playing a more straightforward Pika-Rom deck and not a Zapdos Jolteon or Zapdos Zebstrika deck. Jarrett will discard the lightning energies here. let's see, only discard 2. He's going to attach 1, discard 2 with the Ultra Ball, and go get a Pokemon out of his deck. Now, I'm going to show off the Omastar here on the screen. This is what we're looking forward to on Jesse's side. His goal is to use this Omastar in order to lock Jarrett out of the game. Now, it looks like Jarrett is going for the Marshadow. He's going to be able to let loose. Both players are going to shuffle their hands into their deck and draw 4 cards. And that is pretty much ideal for Jarrett here. I think he's going to just burn those 2 Electro Powers, and I like that decision, knowing that there is potentially an incoming item lock here. Burning the Electro Powers doesn't feel so bad, and it's going to allow him to launch a turn 1 attack here that does some substantial damage with the Zapdos, and not just, using the Thunderous Assault there for 10. Thunderous Assault for 10 feels a little suboptimal. So, Thunderous Assault for 70 feels much better, and he knows that he's not going to get the switching cards here that he needs to activate Thunderous Assault's attack condition, but 2 Electro Powers will do. We do have to keep in mind that Jarrett only has 4 Electro Power in his deck, unless he's playing Electro Charger in order to throw more Electro Power back into the deck. Then he is locked in at only 4 Electro Power and has to use them wisely. So choosing to burn 2 on the first turn of the game, definitely a big decision here, considering he's not taking a one-hit knockout. However, Gengar Mimikyu does not have that many hit points. I'm going to pull up Gengar Mimikyu here. I think it's, 230 potentially? 240? I'm going to pull it up and take a look. Dealing 70 damage to the Gengar Mimikyu is a substantial play here because it makes it capable of getting knocked out much easier further down the road. So that 70 damage will contribute to that Gengar potentially getting knocked out sooner. And I think that it's a fine play, considering that the item lock is definitely incoming, right? Like, definitely thinking about that coming up here soon. 240 hit points on the Gengar Mimikyu, right? Bringing it down to just 170 remaining after that Thunderous Assault for 70 damage. The ball's in Jesse's court now. He is going to Peking Red card. Take a look at Jarrett's hand. Just a Lily and a Tapu Koko GX. It's a pretty good hand for Jarrett. He knows that he can just Lily for 5 or 6 next turn. He's got a Pikachu Zekrom here on the bench. Jesse is going to have to ask himself if he wants, Jarrett to shuffle that hand back. Now, Gengar Mimikyu does 50 damage times the amount of trainer cards in his opponent's hand. Jesse knows that he's only got 1 trainer card in his hand right now. Off this Energy Lotto, Jesse can grab Psychic Energy. He's going to choose to fail. I wonder what Jesse's plan is here going forward. With the second energy on Horror House, Gengar Mimikyu GX can stop Jarrett from playing any cards from their hand during their next turn, and will allow them both to draw up until they have 7. So Jesse's going to, played the Peking Red card. The Peking Red card's down. I believe he let Jarrett keep his hand. And then he's going to use Horror House GX here, and they're both going to fill their hands to 7. Now, Jarrett cannot play any cards from his hand this turn, which means that he's pretty much locked into Thunderous Assault for 10 damage, which is pretty funny. Bringing the Gengar Mimikyu Tag Team GX down to with 70 damage on it. That's 170 hit points left. I guess I was wrong before. It'll have 170 hit points if it gets hit with another Thunderous Assault. Or no, 160 left. We're at 160 left. Yep. It's got 80 on it now. 160 left. Jesse now knows that Jarrett, more than likely, has a huge handful of trainers, We still have not seen that Omastar yet come into play. The Omastar will definitely be the key to this matchup. If Jesse can't get that Omastar into play this turn, I'm worried that Jarrett will be able to capitalize on having this huge hand and really punish Jesse for that. But it looks like Jesse is going to Ultra Ball for the Omastar. Jarrett will take a read there. Yeah, he's like, yep, that's the item lock one, right? Yes, sir. So, with that Omastar coming down, Jarrett's going to be locked out of items. But all he really needs to do is kind of manually attach to that Pikachu Zekrom and bide himself a couple of turns, because Jesse can't afford to overbench. As soon as he benches too many Pokemon, then Jarrett's going to be free to use his items. I don't see any energies, though, in Jarrett's hand, which is really rough, because all Jarrett wants to do is like promote Marshadow and attach an energy to Pikachu Zekrom. That's all he really needs to do from this point going forward. If he could just full blitz this Gengar, he needs to full blitz for a full 160. The thing's got 160 hit points left, so 150 is just shy. He's not going to be getting there with 150 damage full blitz. He needs to alter that damage in some way, but we do see Jesse going for a second Gengar Mimikyu. Maybe Jesse is worried about his one getting knocked out. I think if he benches this one, he does kind of open the door for Jarrett to let that Marshadow get knocked out, and then they would have a similar amount. So Jesse's going to take a good look at Jarrett's hand here, and he is dealing, what, how many trainers is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is like 300 damage, right? To Zapdos, and boom, Poltergeist, 300 damage. Craziness there. Jarrett's going to draw, promote the Marshadow. That is the correct play for sure, and hope that Jesse just doesn't have some sort of Guzma or anything like that to target down Jarrett's Pikachu Zekrom or his Tapu Lele. But Jarrett might not be able to even play any cards down from his hand. He can play supporter cards. He's got a Guzma that he's eyeing up, and I think that's his only option here. He's going to Guzma up the Omastar and leave his Tapu Lele GX in the active position, but he's got no energy. Absolutely brutal. And Jesse looks like he might have the switch in hand. He does. This is insanity. He's going to take a huge knockout here on that Tapu Lele GX. Huge knockout. He knows that Jarrett has more than enough trainers in that hand in order to take a knockout on the Tapu Lele. So big damage here from Gengar Mimikyu, a Pokemon that many players, including myself, thought was probably more of a meme than a serious deck, but it is out here swinging for the fences. Absolutely crazy. Along with that Omastar locking Jarrett out of the game completely. And I am stunned, absolutely wild, that he is taking huge knockouts back-to-back with this Gengar Mimikyu and that Poltergeist attack. Absolutely wild. So, after he takes this knockout, Jarrett will be able to play items. And it looks like, oh no, Jesse has double, what is that? The counter, not counter catcher, but the catcher fist card. Oh my gosh. And he's going to take a knockout on the Pikachu Zekrom for 3 prizes. Jesse is finishing this game off at a blazing pace. Unbelievable there. Unbelievable play. Custom catcher, double custom catcher. It's not a card that I had downloaded in my playable cards folder. I'm not going to lie. Custom catcher reads, you may play 2 custom catchers at once. If you played 1, draw cards until you have 3 in your hand. If you played 2, it's a catcher effect. You get to pick a Pokemon on your opponent's bench and bring it to the active. Absolutely wild. custom catcher play there. I can't believe he was able to pull that off. Jarrett is going to Cynthia here, draw 6 new cards. He can play his items finally, but at this point, it's 4 prizes taken to 0, and there might be no hope for Jarrett to get himself out of this one. He's just going to retreat into the Zorora. He must know he's got a hand with almost no trainers in it, or else he would not have played it. Now, Jesse has got heads on order pad here. It makes me think, why is he playing another order pad? Is he just... I actually don't think that's a legal play. I don't think that's legal. If he's going to go grab 2 items out of his deck, that's not allowed. He would have had to fail the first one and then go search for the second one, because you can't use the knowledge that you hit the second one in order to go get 2 items out of the deck. So, Natalie, if you can hear me here, don't let him go get 2 items. That's not a legal play. Don't let him do that, okay? Okay, so I typed it in the chat. You can't double flip on order pad. It's not like a nest ball. It's not like an ultra ball, right? And it's just a weird thing. So he's just trying to shortcut it, and it's fine. It's an easy mistake to make. A lot of players will shortcut, play 2 level balls, 2 ultra balls, 2 nest balls at the same time, things like that. And you can just play 2 at the same time and go search your deck for 2 Pokemon, things like that. Players are usually very lax with rules like that, but you absolutely cannot do that with order pad, because using the knowledge that you hit both will allow you to, just as Jesse wanted to do, go get 2 custom catchers out of the deck, which obviously is much riskier to go get the first custom catcher with the first heads and hope that you get a heads on the second one, right? So I'm glad that we got that stopped before the game got too far advanced there. And that's good. So that's the power of a streamed match. Very cool. Glad I was able to put my judge hat on for a second there and stop that play in its tracks. Still, incredibly impressive deck here from Jesse Parker. The Gengar Omastar deck, he said that he saw it on Azul's stream. Azul streams here on Twitch as well. I'm actually subbed to his channel, and he is subbed to Tricky Jim, so we're definitely both supporting each other. Very cool. And it's nice to see Azul's deck out here on my stream at Full Grip Games, really putting in some work. So that's exciting too. I thought that, Gengar Mimikyu, I would have thought was an unplayable card, to be honest, because of its darkness weakness. I thought that it just was too tough there for Zoroarks. But it looks like Jesse's going to take the win anyways with the Gengar Mimikyu, a convincing 6-0 against Jarrett Mesher's Pikachu Zekrom deck, a deck that is getting a ton of hype heading into the Oceania International Championships. So incredible play there from Jesse. Great play by Jarrett as well. He just got locked out of the game, and there was nothing more he could do. Gengar and Mimikyu GX showing it is a force to be reckoned with here at Full Grip Games. Getting ready for round 2 here at the Full Grip Games Wednesday night shop tournament. We've got Chris Melton on the left versus Brady Hot Hands Botner. And in true Hot Hands fashion, Brady is playing a Charizard deck. Excited to see how this Charizard deck performs. It was a card that made my top 10 list of team-up cards prior to the set drop here. Charizard has underperformed many players' expectations, but it has been a deck on the PTCGO ladder that has taken some surprising wins. I have seen it really give some hands to the Zoroark decks, to more big tag team Pokemon GX decks like Pikachu as well. So Charizard definitely a deck that has potential and is on some players' radars heading into the Oceania International Championships. Excited to see how this Charizard deck performs. On our left side, we've got Chris Melton, a player playing Ultra Necrozma, I believe. He just picked up this deck this week, came into the shop and asked what deck I thought would be best for a player who hasn't played in a couple years and just getting back into the game. I was like, well, if you've played the game for a couple years, you might remember Bronzong, you might remember Electric. Malamar is basically the same card, but with psychic Pokemon. He's like, oh yeah, I totally remember those. So great fit for Chris here, and it's showing. He's already 1-0 at his first Pokemon tournament in a couple of years. He said he hadn't played since Yveltal Zoroark Gallade. So he had not played at least since like 2016 or so. So it's been a little while, but starting off 1-0, very strong here, and excited to see how this matchup goes forward. On Chris's side, he does have the Giratina, which should come in handy to knock out these Charizards. And after Charizard has used Roaring Resolve, placing 2 damage counters on itself, then that's perfect numbers for the Giratina to take a knockout on Charizard, dealing 130 damage. So that math checks out and should be fine. Brady has started with an absurd number of mulligans here. I think that's at least his second or third, right? So that is going to play to Chris's advantage for sure as these players get started. Chris will have a pretty sizable hand advantage here because of these mulligans. Let's see if Brady can get a starter Pokemon here. And I'm curious to see if Brady plays the Jirachi engine. I've seen a lot of these Charizard decks using the Jirachi engine in order to set up Charizard consistently. And it looks like these players are finally getting started, up and ready to go. Round 2, they'll shake hands and get rolling. Brady starts with a Victini Prism Star in the active. That Victini Prism Star does shuffle some fire energy back into the deck and deals, I believe, 20 damage times the amount of fire energy that were in that discard pile. We see Chris Melton start with a Choice Banded Ultra Necrozma. He's going to slap that Beast Energy onto it as well, and then go straight in with a Cynthia. He's got the Inkay in the active position. That Inkay should be safe for a little while Chris sets up. Brady, I don't think, has any way to attack on the first turn of the game, so should be no problems here for Chris starting with that Inkay. But he is going to be looking to get that back to the bench here sooner rather than later. We see Chris draw into an Ultra Ball, and he's eyeing up cards to discard here. Maybe he's got a Mysterious Treasure as well. He'll discard the Mysterious Treasure and a Psychic Energy and go into his deck to grab probably another Inkay, if I had to guess, to start setting up his bench. So a great start here from Chris. He is doing everything his deck needs to do. I think ideally you want probably 3 Inkay out turn 1, but 2 will suffice. The rest of his hand, he's got an Ultra Ball. So he's going to Acro Bike here first. And I like that. See what you hit off the Acro Bike. He's got double Psychic, easy choice. And it looks like he's got Lele and an Ultra Ball and a Dawn Wings Necrozma in his hand. I like holding on to that hand. I don't think you need to burn the whole hand down in order to get another Inkay into play. Chris Melton can go in with the Dawn Wings next turn if he's able to get double Malamar. I think he already has a couple of copies of Psychic Energy in the discard pile. So he could easily Ultra Ball for a Malamar, put the Dawn Wings down, and then Lele for a supporter card. See if he can't launch a turn 2 Dawn Wings attack onto that Victini Prism Star and get it straight to the Lost Zone. We see Brady Ultra Ball for a Jirachi. So he's going to be starting off with that Jirachi, gets it right into the active position so that he can use that Stellar Wish ability to start to set up his deck. Love this play here from Brady. Very consistent setup. And he's going to want that Jirachi to find him probably Nest Balls, any sort of card that's going to help him find more Charmanders than he has right now. With 0 Charmanders, he's got to be feeling a little bit sketch, right? But he does have a Cynthia, so he'll shuffle up and draw 6 cards, looking for a Charizard or a Charmander to put onto his bench. He does find 1 Nest Ball, better than none, so that he can put a Charmander down. I like that. Thins the deck. I like that he played Nest Ball before he used Stellar Wish, getting the Charmander out of the deck. I was having some banter back and forth with some of my team members here at Full Grip about which Charmander was the optimal Charmander. I like the big nose Charmander, all right, but I think Matt Price was giving me a hard time saying he did not like the big nose Charmander. He liked the other Charmander better. I think the big nose Charmander is the best Charmander in my opinion. Brady is able to find another nest ball there off of the Stellar Wish. Fantastic, and he'll get himself another big nose Charmander there. Great setup from Brady. That Jirachi getting him exactly what he needs to go forward here. But Brady's really going to want that Jirachi in order to help him find Rare Candy Charizard on his next turn. So ideally, he would like to have a second Jirachi on his bench. Hopefully, he's got one in his hand. If he doesn't, that gives Chris an opportunity to potentially skip ahead here. If he can launch a quick attack with this Dawn Wings, even just with the Ultra Necrozma, really, either attack onto that Jirachi could spell disaster for Brady if he is not able to find the Rare Candy Charizard for next turn. The Jirachi kind of is the glue that keeps this Charizard deck together and finding cards. But it looks like Chris will just go for the Cynthia. He's not going to play that Ultra Ball. He's going to keep those resources in his hand. He's not going to play that Dawn Wings down either. Going straight for the Cynthia. I think that he could have potentially put the Dawn Wings down. It gives him another opportunity to launch an attack. If he just draws into an Energy and two Dawn Wings, or two Malamars, he could do that. But I think with this hand, he should have it here. He's got a Malamar. I think, is that a Viridian Forest? No, he's got Mysterious Treasure. If he can just find an Energy in order to retreat that Inkay, he can knock out the Jirachi. But it looks like he's going to go for a second Malamar here, get both of them into his hand. He's got one in play. I am assuming that second one is going to his hand. He can't double evolve that Malamar, though he may have, yeah. Okay, he's going to put that onto the active. And then he'll just double Psychic Recharge onto the benched Ultra Necrozma here and get that guy ready to go. He may have the Switch in hand. If he's got Switch in hand, then that Jirachi is going down this turn for sure. Looks like he's got Let Loose. So the Let Loose could find him the Switch he needs in order to attack, and it looks like he will play that Let Loose. Both players are going to shuffle up here and draw 4 cards. Chris in hot pursuit of a Switch. I think I like the play better if he puts that Dawn Wings down. You can see how the Dawn Wings would be able to use that Invasion ability, and Chris would only need an Energy here to take the knockout on this Jirachi. But without the Dawn Wings in play, it's all about this Ultra Necrozma and Chris needing to find a switch. He's got Guzma, and I think that that's a Choice Band in his hand. So he's going to have to just pass. Passing with Malamar active is a little bit sketchy here. And Ultra Necrozma is taking like a huge overkill on these Charizards. Brady really dodging a bullet there with that Jirachi surviving through the turn. If Chris was able to find that switch, the Jirachi would have gone, and having just a hand of 4 cards certainly spells disaster with a Charizard deck with just Charmanders on the bench. But Brady has an Ultra Ball here. He's going to search his deck for a Charizard that he is going to be looking to get into play. His final card in hand is a Rare Candy. So he decides to go and get the Charizard first before using Jirachi's ability here to thin his deck as much as possible, giving himself the biggest opportunity to hit a supporter here off of the Jirachi. I like that he also chose to use Roaring Resolve first so that he could thin his deck, get the fire energies out of the deck as well. All of this thinning of the deck increases Brady's odds of finding a supporter card or a Guzma. I think if he's able to find a Guzma, he could take a knockout on that Tapu Lele GX, which would be very good. Even if he just finds an escape board here, he's able to get the Jirachi out of the active position. So he's got a bunch of targets he's looking for. Cynthia will do just fine because he could Cynthia into potentially other Charizards, which would be very strong. Or he could Cynthia into an escape board, which would be great as well, so that he can retreat that Jirachi and take a knockout on the Malamar. Now, I think that Brady also is going to want to find a fire energy so that he can manually attach for turn. I don't think that he is manually attached for turn yet. He just used the Roaring Resolve ability there and had a fire from turn 1. He evolves his Bench Charmander into a Charmeleon. I like that. That's great. Eases up the pressure on his rare candies, which is very good. But it looks like he might not have the retreat. He benches another Jirachi, and he has to pass. He doesn't find the escape board. Brutal for Brady on a turn where he could have really taken a surefire lead. Instead, Chris is eyeing up a Guzma, and he sure enough top decks the switch he needed to take the knockout the turn previous. He's eyeing up the switch. He's got an Inkay in his hand that he could drop as well, I believe. I think that Chris has got to be feeling like he should Guzma this Charizard here and take it out with his Ultra Necrozma. He will. He's going to bring that Charizard into the active position, and Photon Geyser will make absolutely swift work of that Charizard. Now, if Brady can find another Charizard here, he'll be able to tempo back into this game by knocking out the Ultra Necrozma. So that's what he's going to be looking for this turn for sure. And let me find the Ultra Necrozma card here in my downloaded cards, if it's here. If I can find it. Let's see, Ultra Necrozma. Hey, Ultra Necrozma, very good. That'll work. Excellent. So Brady's got Charmeleon in the active there. It's got a fire energy on it. Looking for an attacker here. He's got Nest Ball, and wow, he's going to search out an Eevee. It looks as if he might be playing a Flareon in this deck as well. He'll attach the fire energy from his hand onto the Charmeleon, and then Cynthia, just looking for a Charizard. If he could just find a Charizard, then he's good to go, and will be able to take this knockout here. But if he misses the Charizard, then the whole strategy starts to fall apart here, and that beautiful full art Ultra Necrozma is going to take Brady's board by storm here. I really think that the addition of the Flareon GX, very cool in here. It's got an ability, or the GX attack allows you to do damage for the amount of fire energies in your discard pile, so it works really well with the Charizard. And sure enough, Brady finds the Charizard off of the Heat Factory. Crazy draws there from Brady. He didn't have it previously. As soon as he found the Charizard, he slapped it right down. And Roaring Resolve, he'll put the fire energies on to that Charizard from the deck, evolve into another Charmeleon, and take a huge one-hit knockout on that Ultra Necrozma. Absolutely stunning here. And I can't believe he ripped it off of the Heat Factory. He didn't have it off the Cynthia. Heat Factory for 3, enough to get him there to take this big knockout with Charizard. For 2 prizes, Brady will take the lead. Huge one-hit KO with that attack there. Continuous Blaze Ball, knocking out the Ultra Necrozma. Chris has to promote a Marshadow, looking for his next play. I think here he has to go in with either Giratina or Dawnwings. Those are his 2 options. He could GX with Dawnwings. I think that is a little bit risky here. I mean, he might want to save that for later. With Brady's current board position, if that Eevee doesn't end up evolving into a Flareon, he could take multiple knockouts. I'm not sure exactly how many hit points that Victini Prison Star has, but using Sky Scorching Light GX has to be an option that is on Chris's mind. That Sky Scorching Light in combination with Giratina could just be a game-ending card. The Victini unfortunately has 90 hit points. That's not an option to hit with Sky Scorching Light. But the 2 Jirachis and the Eevee could go down if Chris is able to snipe the Jirachis some point later in the game. Looks like Chris is going to go for his Ultra Necrozma again and start to Psychic Recharge to it. I think that here he might be better off finding that Giratina. It might be prized. The Dawn Wing's also an option, but the 190 hit points is actually harder for Brady's deck to manage than the 180 on Dawn Wings. Looks like Chris will just double Psychic Recharge and has to pass. That is a dangerous situation for Chris. Missing another attack here is really devastating as this Charizard deck just continues to heat up. Brady unfortunately flips Double Tails on Timer Ball. Press F in the chat, please, for Brady's Timer Ball. That card never fails. Always consistent with the failing. Never fails to fail, I should say. But that's okay. Brady's board position is so commanding that I don't think that there's anything that a double Timer Ball there could affect, to be honest. Brady is going to use the Energy Evolution on that Eevee to find a Flareon GX. And the Flareon GX, as I said before, has a fantastic GX attack for this matchup. It's Power Burner GX. For 1 fire energy, it does 20 damage for each fire energy in your discard pile. And the cool thing about the Flareon GX is that it doesn't actually shuffle the energy back into the deck like the Victini Prism Star does. The Victini Prism Star will shuffle it back into the deck. The Flareon just keeps it in the discard pile. So you get to get double kind of usage out of that fire energy being in the discard pile there. See if we can find the Flareon to put onto the screen here. Having a little bit of trouble finding it in my thing here. I need to find a widget that will do this automatically for me, honestly. But until then, we're doing it all by hand, folks. putting the Pokemon up on the screen by hand. It's a lot of work. It's kind of tough to keep everything straight. There you go. Okay. Boom. Flareon. Maybe too little, too late. We got the Flareon into the active position now, and it looks like Brady will take that knockout with the Flareon. Awesome stuff. See, Chris. Let's see. What has Chris got going on here? He's got the Ultra Necrozma in the active. He's going to Ultra Ball. Find himself. Oh, he's just going to discard the Ultra Ball with Viridian Force. Find himself the Metal Energy. Should take a knockout on this Flareon. I believe he's got the Choice Band in his hand to do a perfect 210 damage here, which is very good. Brady doesn't have any energy or anything on his benched Pokemon, so he won't necessarily be able to deal an easy 190 damage to this Ultra Necrozma. I think I remember the Choice Band being in Chris's hand from earlier. So he is going to equip that Choice Band and deal perfect 210 damage to the Flareon GX. Chris will go down to 3 prizes remaining to Brady's 2. But all Brady has to do is knock out this Ultra Necrozma, and that will be game. So the Flareon got in there, took a quick 2 prizes, but did get knocked out in return by Ultra Necrozma. Brady will promote the Jirachi and eye up his next play with 2 Charizards ready to go. All Brady has to do is put together a nice little one-hit KO here. I mean, he could hit into a Charizard for potentially like 130 damage, maybe 160 with the Choice Band. But with that Choice Band, all Brady needs is a manual attachment from hand and a Roaring Resolve for 2 fire, and Brady will be able to take this knockout. Brady is going to go for it. If he's got 3 fires in deck, he can make it happen. It looks like he's only got 2, though. We're counting 2 fire in Brady's deck. He cannot take this knockout. He needs to attach 1 from hand and then Roaring Resolve for 2. He's eyeing up the deck back and forth. He knows that this could be disastrous. With only 2 fire left in deck, that means Brady has to attach to the Victini Prism Star. That is his only out to win this game, unless he's got an Energy Recycler. But I think that he might not play Energy Recycler. He might just be relying on the Victini Prism Star in order to get his energy back into the deck. So he does look like does he have maybe Cynthia in his hand? He could dig and go look for it, but I don't think that he plays Energy Recycler. He's just got his 1 fire, and he can't really afford to burn them away with Charizard, so he may just need to attach to the Victini, hope that Chris doesn't get rid of the Viridian Forest, and then go in with Victini for knockout. That Victini Prism Star would be dealing more than enough damage to take a 1-hit KO on that Ultra Necrozma, since Brady has an absolute ton of fire energy in his discard pile right now. In fact, all of his deck's fire energy. Brady sees the play. He knows that this is his only option here. With only a few cards left in deck, he's going to Erika's for the remaining cards, leaving just a few left. And then just hope that this Victini does not get Guzma'd. If this Victini gets Guzma'd up, he is in a horrible position. Not only risking deck out, but he won't be able to attack for game. Let's see if Chris has it. He's got Switch in his hand. He's going to be able to recharge this Ultra Necrozma, but I don't believe he's got a Guzma. I think he's probably just looking to knock out the active Jirachi here. Brady just remembering to flip to see if the thing wakes up. I think that Chris is going to go for double Psychic Recharge. He can use his own Viridian Forest to get an energy to retreat the Jirachi, or retreat the Marshadow, which is all well and good. Chris is going to read that Victini. I don't think Chris wants to... Chris cannot put the Ultra Necrozma in the active. Chris has to, I guess... Oh, he's got the Guzma. If he Guzma's it, this game is over. Chris is eyeing up the Guzma. He has it in his hand. And he will bring up the Victini Prism Star, and Brady's going to scoop. The Energy Recycler was down. It was either down or prized. Brady flips it over. He didn't have the Energy Recycler, and Chris will take the game by taking out that final energy. Absolutely stunning. Incredible game. I can't believe that it came down to that. Ran out of resources, and Chris Melton will continue on to 2-0 here at Full Grip Games. Getting ready for round 3 here at the Full Grip Games Wednesday night tournament. We've got Nick Moses on the left versus Jesse Parker, who we saw earlier in the night take that Gengar Mimikyu deck to a convincing victory, 6-0. Absolutely stunning. It looks like Nick Moses is going to be showing us Lost March here on the left. So we've got Jesse Parker's Gengar Mimikyu deck versus Nick Moses with Lost March. Should be an absolutely exciting match here at round 3 of our tournament. Now, Jesse did say that his Gengar Mimikyu deck does tend to mulligan quite a bit. He's only got 3 copies of Gengar Mimikyu in the deck, and that's it. There are no other basic Pokemon. The fossils do not count as basics, so it's just 3 basic Pokemon in the deck. He could quite literally be here all night. He could be here for a while, but we're going to hope that he finds a basic Pokemon sooner rather than later so that we can get this show on the road. Nick is going to be playing a newer, updated version of Lost March here, so I'm excited to see how that performs. It's been a deck that's been doing very well in my testing lately on PTCGO, and I think that it has a ton of potential. Nick is going to be hoping to churn through most of his deck here, see if he can't just play a bunch of items so that he doesn't get just steamrolled by Jesse. And then also, I guess we have to consider the fact that Lost March can do a ton of damage to the Gengar Mimikyu deck while only giving up non-GX Pokemon in return. So I think that the Lost March deck could be a challenge to Jesse's Gengar Mimikyu Poltergeist strategy here. Definitely could be an uphill battle for Jesse, but we'll see if Gengar's got the chops to be able to compete with this clearly top-tier archetype that is Lost March. See, both players are getting ready, waiting for the round to start. And I am a fan of both players' sleeves. See a little bit of talk about that. The mint and the pink, both looking very good. Players will very aggressively shake hands and get started. Looks like Nick is going to be playing first. It starts with that Emolga in the active position. Now, the Emolga is an interesting addition, new from Team Up, to the Lost Thunder deck. Now, what Emolga is here to do is he just uses Nuzzly Gathering. He uses Nuzzly Gathering to get other Pokemon with Nuzzly Gathering out of the deck. Now, that might sound a little bit underwhelming, maybe, right? But it's not. What's really exciting about the Nuzzly Gathering is that it allows the Lost March deck to just play the Pokemon communication engine. So instead of playing Ultra Balls and worrying about discarding cards with Ultra Ball, you can just play Pokemon communication. And so long as you have one copy of Emolga in play, you can always have Pokemon communication be a live card by using Nuzzly Gathering to get an Emolga to your hand and then Pokemon communication it away. What's also fantastic about Nuzzly Gathering is that he can generate targets to his hand in order to Lost Blender away. We see that he has gone in with a turn 1 Elm here, got himself 3 Hoppips, and then will go straight to Lost Blendering away 2 copies of Emolga. And I hope he remembers to draw his card for Lost Blender. I didn't see him do that. Maybe he has forgotten about it, or maybe he just didn't notice. I'm going to type it into the chat here. Make sure. Did he draw for Lost Blender? All right, I didn't see the draw. Just making sure. Want to be Judge Andrew here, making sure that everything is going as planned. All right, good. I didn't see it. Okay. Natalie says he did draw. All is well. Jesse will go in with the Gengar Mimikyu here and Acrobike, and then he's got the fossil map there to go get himself a fossil that he can then evolve into the Omastar. Very good. He's setting up very consistently for such a kind of interesting and maybe some would say convoluted deck. Jesse seems to be setting this thing up pretty consistently. He really just wants to find an energy here to attach to his Gengar Mimikyu on the first turn. He knows that he's not really doing anything too exciting. He's going to wait to Horror House. He's not going to Horror House turn 1, I don't think, even though you could Horror House turn 1. I think he probably wants to do the double psychic Horror House. And thank you so much to Sean Leiden for the Twitch Prime sub. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it. We've got Jesse attaching that psychic there, and we'll see if he opts to use Horror House. I think he would rather not, if I had to guess, but he will. So he's going to Horror House. Nick cannot play any cards from his hand this turn. Really puts him in a tough spot, but Nick can use the Emolga there to just search out another Emolga out of the deck, and if there are no more Emolgas in the deck, you can at least thin or take a look, right? It's not going to be able to thin it all. Looks like he failed that search there with the Nuzzly Gathering. But this puts Nick in a really interesting spot. He's got to think, obviously you got to leave the Emolga in the active position. I know he does have one Skiploom in his hand. He's got the Trumbeak in his hand. He keeps gesturing like he wants to play them, but it's such a weird effect. He can't play them. He literally can't do anything. So he's just got to pass. A free turn for Jesse to attach another energy and potentially get an Omastar into play. So let's see if he's got what he needs to get that Omastar. He's got the Ultra Ball. I've already seen the rare candy, so he's going to be bringing the Omastar into effect this turn, which could very much disrupt Nick's strategy of trying to get Pokemon into the Lost Zone as quickly as possible, right? All Nick can do is manually evolve into Skiploom and then pitch them to the Lost Zone with Floral Path into the sky and find himself Jumpluffs, but really using the Lost Blenders is a big part of this deck, getting it set up. Using Pokemon communication is a big part of getting the Skiplooms into play. So this is going to be very disruptive to Nick's deck. Finding Trumbeaks will be very difficult, though he really only has to launch a few attacks into this Gengar Mimikyu in order to take it out. So if Nick can get a few Pokemon, he's already got 2, if he can get maybe 6 Pokemon into the Lost Zone, he'll be able to hit for 120, which is enough to take a 2-hit knockout on this thing. A 2-hit knockout is nothing to scoff at. And Nick is going to be chucking 2 more Pokemon to the Lost Zone with this Skiploom right now. So things are escalating. And Jesse missed the energy attachment, so he can't even Poltergeist. That is really tough for Jesse here. He didn't have a draw supporter in his hand, didn't have anything. He has just got to put the ball back into Nick's court here. And it looks like Nick does have an Elm in his hand. That is incredible. The Elm is going to be able to help him find all the Skiplooms he needs in order to get as many Pokemon into Lost Zone that he needs to get a huge hit this turn. He's already got 4, but we see him search out 2 more with the Elm. So most lists are not playing the Elm engine right now, but we are seeing that the Elm engine is paying huge dividends for Nick here. Being able to work through that item lock, the Elm was the perfect card for this turn. I was saying previously that I thought that Nick would have a hard time finding all his Skiplooms, but what an incredible turn here from Nick. He's going to get 4 more Pokemon to the Lost Zone. I said Nick would be in a great spot if he could get 6 Pokemon in the Lost Zone. He's going to get 8, okay? And I believe he still has that Trumbeak in his deck, and Jesse Parker does not have a supporter in his hand. So that means that if Nick Lost Zones a supporter here off the top of Jesse's deck, that is going to be really, really tough for Jesse. It's not a supporter card. So we know that Jesse is not getting a supporter card this next turn, which is really crazy. Nick is able to, in a way, he's kind of controlling Jesse's top deck. Jesse is not drawing cards, not drawing supporter cards, that's for sure. And Nick is about to hit him for, what? There's 9 Pokemon, 180 damage with this Lost March attack. He's got another Psychic Energy in his hand. He has a Lily in his hand that he can use for next turn to draw more cards. I have to say, Nick is in a commanding position right here and ready to take this match absolutely by storm. Jesse does have a Crushing Hammer. He's got to go for it. It's all he's got, really. He did flip a heads, but we already know that Nick has another energy in hand. And Jesse's going to have to pass with this Gengar active, just hoping that Nick draws dead here. Absolutely incredible. Jesse only has another Crushing Hammer in his hand and a dead card. There's nothing he could do with that. Nick will take his draw for turn. He's got a double colorless. He's got a grass. He's got plenty of energy to win this matchup. He's going to take 3 prizes this turn, knocking out the Gengar Mimikyu. He'll bench the Natu as well. We already saw that he's got the double colorless and will Lily for just a few cards, but it doesn't matter. He's got everything he needs to win this matchup. Next turn, Jesse's going to have to promote the Omastar, and that Omastar, I believe, is weak to grass. Jesse top decks the Fossil Map, which will allow him to get another Fossil, which delays the inevitable, but unfortunately is not going to allow him to take this matchup back from the Shadow Realm to where it has wandered off to. This is devastating for Jesse. He just missed that energy attachment to start to hit into Nick's attackers, and Nick was able to set up masterfully under item lock thanks to the Professor Elm's lectures. Now, Jesse has been very fortunate on his Crushing Hammer flips and was able to hit both those grass energies from play. However, we already know that Nick has the double colorless in his hand, and I believe he is doing more than enough damage to knock out every Pokemon that Jesse has in play right now. So Nick will draw his card, attach the double colorless. The Jump Bluff has free retreat, and then is going to pivot to Natu, who is going to be taking the lead now. He'll take another prize, go down to 2 prizes remaining, and sure enough, Jesse top decks the Cynthia, a card he needed to stay in this game. He'll be able to draw 6 new cards. So that's got to be a breath of fresh air there for Jesse, but it might be too little, too late. With that Natu there in the active, doing huge damage, 180 damage every turn. Jesse has to find a Pokemon here in order to stay in the game. If he doesn't find a Pokemon, this game is over. We see energies, Crushing Hammer, no Pokemon. If he doesn't hit this hammer, it's game over. He's already hit 2 heads. And it's a 3rd heads. Wow. Jesse does not have a Pokemon he has to attach to his Omastar. And that's it. He's got another Cynthia for next turn. But if Nick just finds a grass energy, he's got the double colorless. It's game over. That's it. Jesse loses the game. Nick is able to bench him out with the double colorless on the Natu. What an exciting match. Absolutely incredible play from both players. Nick's Lost March deck able to defy the odds and set up flawlessly. Turn 2, 180 damage under item lock, under a turn 1 Horror House, and a turn 2 item lock. Still got the 180 damage there on turn 2 with his Lost March deck. Masterful win from Nick Moses there. Getting ready for the 4th and final round at the Full Grip Games tournament here on Wednesday night. We've got Brady Botner on the right versus Jarrett Mesher on the left. Brady Botner has got that Charizard deck that we saw ran out of steam earlier versus Chris's Ultra Necrozma deck. Brady has now moved up to 2-1 and will be competing for the top spot here against Jarrett Mesher, who is also 2-1 after losing on stream to the Gengar Mimikyu Tag Team GX deck that we saw earlier. So this is going to be a crazy match for sure. The Tag Team GX deck here on the left, Pikachu Zekrom versus the non-GX Charizard deck on the right. Of course, the Charizard deck does feature a Flareon GX that we saw come into play in our last game. But with both players being 2-1, it's really anyone's guess as to who is going to end up on top. There are a handful of 2-1 players here in the 4th and final round. There are actually no 3-1 or 3-0 players here during round 4. So each player in the top spot in contention for the top spot is 2-1, and it's really anyone's game here, coming down to the wire at the last round here. I think that Brady could be favored in this matchup if his deck sets up accordingly. We see Jarrett is going to be going first, starts with that Zapdos. I think that's probably not his ideal starter. If I were Jarrett, I would much rather want to start with maybe a Zorora GX, so that I could pivot into Zapdos turn 2 to knock out a Charmander or a Jirachi. Starting the Zapdos is fine. If Jarrett can find a Zorora to retreat into, then he'll be fine to take that knockout with the Zapdos on his second turn, the first turn that he will be able to attack. So we see Jarrett eyeing up his hand here. He's got a Viridian Forest that he's going to put into play. An interesting inclusion in the Pikarom deck so that he can search his deck for energies. And we do see that he's got those very nice Wizards of the Coast energy for sure. Looking good here on stream. My favorite energies of all time right there. I really, really enjoy those. I do think that the card stock is a little thicker than the modern cards, though, so it does kind of bother me a little bit when playing with them in tournaments with the thinner new profile cards, since the older cards you can tell the difference when holding them sometimes because of the thickness of the cards. But I love the artwork on them. I play with these cards in my personal cube that I draft with my friends, and it's just absolutely stunning artwork on those. Wish they would make an all-over holo print energy like this again. If you're listening, Japan, please, Japan. All right, so Jarrett will get a lightning energy out of the deck with that Viridian Forest. He's got an acro bike in his hand. He'll play it. And it looks like the Cocoa Prism Star is an option. He'll easily discard that lightning energy to keep the Cocoa Prism Star so he doesn't have to send that to the Lost Zone. And then we haven't seen a supporter come down from Jarrett yet, but I'm not sure that he has one in his hand. I think he might kind of be on the lookout for one. It might be an Erica that I see there. I can't really tell. I think that's an Erica's Hospitality, in which case he definitely, or a Guzma. It might not be an Erica's. I think it's a Guzma in his hand. Doesn't have anything to really put into play. Brady, on the other hand, going to start off strong with a Heat Factory, and then will immediately nest ball, searching his deck, and you see he's got the 2 Jirachis there on the bottom of his deck. But he's eyeing up the Charizard, or the Charmander. So not interested in getting the Jirachi. Maybe he's already got one in his hand, or maybe he's got enough, maybe he's got a draw supporter in his hand. I usually like to go for a Jirachi as my first Pokemon in these decks, just so that you can kind of have some insurance after maybe a turn 1 Cynthia or something like that. But getting double Charmander is a very strong start as well, especially with a Zapdos there in the active. You have no idea if that Zapdos is going to attack this next turn. Could potentially knock out Charmander with a couple of Electro powers. It looks like Brady, does he have a supporter in his hand? He has an Ultra Ball. So he's going to be Ultra Balling away. I think that's in Erica's. And a Fire Energy. So he'll go get the Jirachi either way. I was going to say, one of these search cards here is going to have to be a Jirachi. For sure. So I'm glad to see that he got the Jirachi here off of the Ultra Ball. This is a perfect start here for Brady. He just needs to get that Jirachi into the active position. If he's got a Fire, I believe the Charmander just has a retreat cost of 1. And he'll be able to get that Jirachi into the active position. But instead, he's going to opt to Heat Factory here and draw 3 cards. He's got another Nest Ball. I think I really like just getting a second Jirachi here. I'm not sure that he needs a second copy or a third copy of Charmander, but decides to go with the Charmander. And I think that's fine, though I do worry if the Zapdos knocks out his Jirachi, Brady could be stuck without any way to draw cards or set up his Charizards if that Jirachi gets knocked out. Now we'll see if maybe Brady has a way to get the Jirachi into the active position just now. If not, he's just going to have to pass. He's got Lily for 6. I believe he's 2 cards left in his hand. A draw of 6 off the top. Absolutely amazing here. Maybe he'll get an escape board or a switch. I assume he probably plays a few copies of a skateboard, so he could bring the Charmander back with that. But he's just going to pass, and I think that that's fine. If Brady's hand is really stacked right now, then he can afford to pass with the Charmander in the active. I know he would rather have the Charmander get knocked out than his only copy of Jirachi. And Brady's hand might just be Rare Candy Charizard. And if it is just Rare Candy Charizard, he can use Charizard's Roaring Resolve ability to get all the cards he needs, or all the energy he needs in play. We got Jarrett here, double Zapdos. and he'll Guzma up the Jirachi. And I like Jarrett's decision here to target down the Jirachi. I think that that's a really heads-up play. The Jirachi is the key to getting this deck set up, and Jarrett recognizes that. So he'll take out that Jirachi with Thunderous Assault, but Brady has got the response in his huge hand. He's got Rare Candy Charizard, and he'll go in and Roaring Resolve. So an incredible turn 2 here from Brady already. Just gripping the Rare Candy Charizard off of that big turn 1 Lily. And he's got what he needs to take the return knockout on that Zapdos. He doesn't need any attachment from hand. He'll place the 2 damage counters onto his Charizard with Roaring Resolve, get the 2 fires, and he's dealing 130 damage with continuous Blaze Ball right off rip there. We'll see if Brady's got any sort of draw in his hand, if he's got a Cynthia or maybe something to help get back up Charizards into play. I would really like to see a Charmander or a Charmeleon drop down. He's got Cynthia, that's perfect. He'll be able to shuffle up here and draw 6 cards. Really looking for a Charmeleon. I think that would be a perfect draw for him here, just a Charmeleon. Obviously, Rare Candy Charizard would be fantastic, but Charmeleon even would just be really good. Set him up for next turn, and I would also like to see another Jirachi come off of Brady's Cynthia here. If he could just bench another Jirachi, I'm feeling much more confident about this board state with a Jirachi on board. Without Jirachi, really anything can happen because you're just at the whim of your deck and whatever hands decide to get drawn off of the supporter cards, which can sometimes just not have quite enough to keep this deck rolling. We do see that he's got a Choice Band. He's got an Ultra Ball, I believe. And I'm not sure if he's used Heat Factory yet, so he could have that as an option as well. But he probably is already Heat Factoried if he's just going to use the continuous Blaze Ball attack here. Jarrett just has to promote Zapdos and hope that he can respond here. But I think all he's got in his hand is an Ultra Ball, which is not good. You really hate to... And Ultra Balling away Electro Power feels really bad. Not what you want at all if you're Jarrett. And who do you even get off of this Ultra Ball to get yourself out of this mess? I see a Zorora. He's got Tapu Koko. He's got options in his hand. He really just has to make it work for himself. I think he needs to get a Marshadow or a Lele here for sure. I think I like personally getting like either of them, really, Marshadow or Lele. I think Marshadow's the high risk, high reward choice. Lele is the safe bet. He'll go for the Lele. I want to see him bench the Zorora and the Koko. Yes, and then just Lele for a Lily and draw 6 cards. If he's got a Lily in deck, Lily is the correct choice here, and he sees that because whenever you have the opportunity to draw 6 off of Lily, you have to take it. Cynthia always lets you shuffle draw 6. Lily only draws 6 sometimes. So taking the Lily here, perfect play from Jarrett. He's going to see 6 new cards. Now, what he wants to see is probably, I'm not sure that he plays Switch. So Switch is not really an option. I think I just want to see an Energy and a Thunder Mountain, or an Energy and an Energy Switch, so that he can take the knockout on this Charizard and put Brady on the back foot with no Jirachi to promote. Brady would have to just find the Rare Candy Charizard in order to continue trading. So with 6, he needs at least a couple card combination here. He's going to need an Energy and an Energy Switch off of this in order to make it happen. We see him get Electro Powers, Energies. I don't see an Energy Switch. I don't see a Thunder Mountain. So maybe, I guess, if all he needed was Energy Switch, he could have just Volknered off of the Lele, but leaving yourself with a 0-card hand feels really bad there. So Jarrett will ship the Tapu Koko and get both the Energy into play, but I don't think that he's... Oh, does he have it? Is that an Energy Switch in his hand? I believe it is. So he could take this knockout. I think he's got the energy switch. I can't tell. I think I've seen it behind some other cards. I think it's right there. That's an energy switch. I think it is. He'll retreat. Yes, this has got to be an energy switch. He's got it already. He'll switch off of the Lele and knock out the Charizard with his Zorora GX. So really strong play there from Jarrett. And he's got Electro Powers in his hand, so he can pivot to Zapdos next turn, which is really what he wants to do. He doesn't want this Aurora out in the active position. It's kind of in over its head. He doesn't want to be out here, kind of in the firing line. He could get knocked out by a Charizard, right? If the Charizard gets enough energy on it. But if Jarrett's able to live through the turn, then he can retreat into Zapdos and Thunderous Assault with an Electro Power for 140 damage. I think he might even have 2 Electro Power in his deck, which would be enough to take a one-hit KO on a Charizard. And if he's not able to evolve into a Charizard this turn, which I think he very well may miss, he's going for a Nest Ball. He's got to get a Jirachi. And I think he's probably going to have to just retreat into Jirachi and pass turn. I think that's probably what we got here. Brady is counting the fire in his discard pile. So he might actually be going for the... he could be going for the Eevee for the Flareon play. But I don't think he's got enough fires in his discard pile to make the Flareon play work. So he just has to get the Jirachi. He'll evolve into Charmeleon. And then it looks like he's got a pretty big hand. So I think he probably has some plays here he can make. But his board position is definitely suffering here without a Charizard on board. He's got the Eevee. I'm wondering how many fire energies are in his discard pile. And if he's going to be able to capitalize on that Flareon GX's GX attack. Looks like he's got Cynthia, he's got Guzmas. He might be trying to pull out an Ultra Ball play here off of that hand. He's got the Ultra Ball. And I think he's going to decide to discard the Guzma. The Guzma and a Choice Band? Potentially. He's definitely conflicted here. He likes all of his resources. He'll discard the Ultra Ball, the Guzma and another Ultra Ball. And what is he searching his deck for here? Could be Victini Prism Star. If it was in the deck, I actually don't see it. So I don't really think there are too many good targets here. There's just Jirachi and Charmander, Charizard. You could just get another Charmander. I think I like that for sure because he's going to need to establish more Charizards on this board in order to stream them and take the game, really. If he ever gets Charizards wiped out and can't respond with a Charizard, then he's just going to be in a horrible spot. So I do really like the Flareon GX, though. I think that's an excellent one-energy attacker. Being able to just deal out a ton of damage on your turn where you just have too many fires in the discard pile. Really excellent. So we'll see what Brady goes for here. He's going to grab the Energy Evolution and go get that Flareon. And I wonder if he's got enough fire energies in the discard pile to make this play work. Is he going to be hitting the one-hit knockout? He's not attaching the Choice Band to the Flareon. And we see Jarrett go to read here. Just make sure he understands full well what that Flareon does. Understandable. Flareon, not a card we see every day, but a card that is very good in this Charizard deck with that Power Burner GX attack. Having a one-energy attacker in a deck like Charizard, an efficient one-energy attacker, is an incredible boost of consistency for this deck. And I really, really enjoy what Flareon brings to the deck. It just gives it an alternative attacker that can attack, doesn't really have to evolve with Rare Candy. Can't evolve with Rare Candy, right? I think it's just a staple in this deck, and I didn't really know that it was an inclusion when I had built this deck previously. So really excited to see that Flareon seeing some play here. Brady's got a skateboard in his hand, Timer Ball, and some other item cards. He'll play the Timer Ball. He's got at least one heads this time, one tail. So he can get an evolution card. He'll gladly go and grab that Charizard. Put that into his hand. Just get it out the deck. Thin the deck one more card. I don't mind that at all. And then that Charizard will be ready for next turn. I know that, Jarrett doesn't have a super good hand from what I recall. I think he kind of just has a handful of lightning energy and electro powers. So he can take a knockout on a Charizard, but he might not be able to deal with a Flareon. If it's Flareon that we're about to see coming down. Brady taking his time to make the decision. Going to grab another Charmeleon. I like that. I think that's fine. He may already have the Charizard in his hand to evolve next turn. He can't evolve the Charmeleon this turn. He just put that Charmander down. Unless he's evolving the active. I guess that active Charmander has been there, so he can retreat and then evolve that Charmeleon. I like that a lot. And he's got the escape board on the Jirachi now. Very good. And he's kind of all geared up and ready to go. So how many fire does he have? Is it 10? I mean, if he's got 10, it's a knockout. But any less than 10, not going to be doing it. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. So 120 damage, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll see. It's not a knockout. I believe it's just 6 for 120. That's why Brady did not bother putting the choice band onto the Flareon. He kind of knew he wasn't going to be getting there as far as his damage output that turn. So now we've got the ball back in the Lightning deck's court. Zora in the active. Looks like Jarrett does have a Volkner. I believe he might have gotten that off of the top here. He's got Volkner in his hand. He's got some electro powers. He kind of has to think about what he's going to do here. I really like if he gets like an escape rope, could be very good. All of the targets on Brady's bench are targets that Jarrett can hit with escape rope. So I think that if he does have an escape rope in the deck, that would be very good. If he doesn't, then I think he's got to go for maybe a Nest Ball, Energy Switch, Ultra Ball can get him Tapu Koko, but Tapu Koko GX doesn't really do anything right here. Tough stuff. Tough stuff here for sure. And Jarrett being up 3 prizes already is pretty astounding. He was able to come in this quick and take 3 prizes. I feel like I only remember him taking 2, but being up, I think I was going to say, is that a prize that he's kind of accidentally knocked over to the side there? I think he's got 4 prizes remaining. I only remember him taking 2. I was going to say, this game is not this escalated yet, so I think that is a prize there underneath Jarrett's hand, which needs to go back up by the other prizes and create a little bit of a less confusing board state here. But that's okay. So yeah, Jarrett is taking 2 prizes. I was like very confused there for a second, but it's all good. Looks like Jarrett will get Ultra Ball and a Lightning Energy and then try to find another Pokemon that could deal with Flareon better. The Zorora cannot attack right now because the text on Plasma Fist reads, this Pokemon can't attack during your next turn. So 160 damage, can't attack next turn. So he's going to have to find another Pokemon. Now, fortunately, he can retreat for free with Thunderclap Zone. We see him discarding an Energy Switch. So that's going to limit his options as far as like who to pivot to here. And it looks like he's just going to get the Let Loose. He doesn't like this hand altogether. Just going to let loose it back. So we Volkner's just to let loose, which is an interesting option that we got here. And I understand it. Sometimes you just kind of, it's like, I don't really know how to proceed. So we're just going to disrupt, play some Electro Powers, swing into this fellow with Zapdos, and see how it goes. I respect it. So right now, he's dealing 140 damage to the Flareon. I worry that maybe Jarrett will waste too many Electro Powers for not enough kind of upside here. blowing 2 Electro Powers into the void just to attack into this Flareon with Zapdos feels kind of bad. It could end up buffing out. I mean, I think it's technically possible for Jarrett to pull enough cards off of this Let Loose in order to knock out the Flareon. Technically, I mean, if he got Choice Band and like 2 more Electro Powers or something, I mean, he would literally have to be, his 3 cards would have to be Choice Band and 2 more Electro Powers. I'd have to get like all 4 Electro Powers. I don't think it's actually doable, right? 3, 6, 9, yeah. I mean, he would need all 4 Electro Powers and a Choice Band. So that's not happening. Instead, he's just going to hit for 140, which is fine, but I think I would rather have seen him hit for 110, which is just exactly 50%. And really, he's got the Choice Band, so he's hitting for 170. But the thing is that 170 doesn't actually get him in any sort of better situation, if that makes any sense, right? Like, he would be better off just hitting the Flareon for 110, because hitting it for 110, it's a 2-hit KO with Zapdos. You know, like, Zapdos does 110 pretty easily, and just with 1 Electro Power, 1 Choice Band, right? He's 2-shotting this with Zapdos. Instead, I think he's got a lot of wasted firepower here on this Flareon, like, for not much return. He's got the Choice Band, he's got the double Electro Power. He kind of overhits the Flareon this turn for too much. You see, Brady has got a couple of Jirachis here. He's got Switch. That is literally the card he needed to see right there. And thank you, John Lake, for the sub. Appreciate it. 2nd month in a row. Appreciate it. 2 months down and a lifetime to go. I'll be back soon to gift more. So just make sure you keep tuning in to Tricky Jim. Thank you so much, John Lake, for the sub and continued support, my man. Always a pleasure. Always appreciated. Thank you. So Brady has the Jirachi here in the active. He's going to Stellar Wish. And it looks like he grabbed the Energy Recycler and will be able to throw the Fire Energies back into the deck, which is perfect, because then he'll be able to Roaring Resolve them into play onto his Charizard. It's exactly the card that Brady wanted to see here, so that he can continue attacking with Charizard and taking big knockouts. With just a Zapdos in the active position, Brady only needs to attach 2 energies to his Charizard in order to take this knockout. I think, you know, with Brady only taking 1 prize so far and already having used his Flareon's GX attack, I kind of want to see him start to power up a Victini Prism Star. Even if he could just drop 1 energy onto a Victini Prism Star, I think that would be really good kind of for the future of this matchup for him. Because being able to use that Victini Prism Star's attack would just not only ensure that he'll be able to continue swinging with Charizard late into the game, but also that that he just gets another non-Charizard attacker. So I think that would be very good. Jarrett's going to go for the Super Scoop Up. What a card. And I don't know why he's searching his deck. I'm assuming he's getting the Lele. Okay, yeah, he got to do that first for sure. Okay, he's going to Wonder Tech. I would assume that's what he's going for here. Yeah, he's scooping up. He hits the heads. He's going to go into his deck here and search for a supporter card. We're tied at 4-4 prizes. Jarrett's got to be thinking that Guzma feels pretty good to knock out the Flareon, but honestly, the Charizard's kind of the bigger threat here. That Flareon's not really going to be attacking anytime soon. He can kind of just stay there until Jarrett's ready to knock it out. I would be much more interested to see him knock out the active Charizard, but I really want to see Jarrett just get a better attacker up front, right? This is Aurora with 120 damage on it. Not really exciting for me. I think that Zorora feels really bad. In fact, I'd rather even see him kind of arrow trail onto Tapu Koko here or anything really, just to get some energy in a safe spot. A heavily damaged Zorora feels really bad, but looks like Jarrett's going to just attach to his Tapu Lele. I mean, that's an option for an auxiliary attacker for sure. but we might just see Jarrett go down and knock out the Flareon. But if you Guzma the Flareon, you know that you're just about to get knocked out by that Charizard. And Brady will go down to 2 prizes. And then Jarrett has already used his Tapu Koko Prism Star. He has already burned a bunch of resources, a bunch of energy switches. I don't think that there's any way that Jarrett is able to respond here after this Aurora goes down. So we see kind of just a weakened board position on Jarrett's side. I would have rather seen him, kind of knock out the Charizard and build up another attacker. I think the Guzma is a very greedy play there. Going for going for the Flareon GX. Brady's going to get everything he needs here. He's going to get to promote a Jirachi. He's going to get to Stellar Wish. All he needs is 2 energy in deck, and he'll be able to punish this Aurora, going down to 2 prizes himself. Brady now has no GXs on his board, while Jarrett has 2 GXs on his board. So even though Jarrett only has 2 prizes remaining, at best, Jarrett needs 2 turns to win. And at best, Brady can win in 2 turns starting right now, because Brady's got his 4 prizes that he needs mapped out already on Jarrett's board. All he needs is to knock out Aurora, which he already has the energy for, and then just needs to be able to pull a Guzma for the benched Tapu Lele GX, which will be easy considering he's got 2 Jirachi, both with escape boards equipped in play. I think it's kind of all lined up here for Brady to be able to seal this game with Charizard. Unless Jarrett can pull off some sort of miraculous play here, he would need to not only whip up a knockout on this Charizard, but would also need to get another attacker in play. I don't even know how he plans on getting another attacker without the resources left in his deck to do so. I mean, it would have to be like Tapu Koko GX, Arrow Trail, Manual Attachment, and Thunder Mountain Prism Star. That has to be the kind of miracle combination we see here. But with Brady already having a Fire Energy manually attached to that Charmeleon on the bench, I'm thinking that the writing's on the wall, folks, and that Brady should be able to just clean this one up pretty quick. I mean, Jarrett, in order to get any attacker not Tapu Koko in the active position, needs to find a Zorora back on the bench as well to get free retreat. I don't think that Jarrett can afford to kind of sack this energy here. And I definitely don't want to see an energy drive. I think that just feels way too bad. Energy drive for 40. It's not going to get it. We do see Pikarom and Zorora. And Jarrett's got a Lily for 5. Okay. That's not bad. But is he going to be able to find the cards that he needs here? We know he's got free retreat. Looks like he's got an Acro Bike and potentially another energy switch in his hand. So he could knock out this Charizard this turn. I didn't know that his hand was powerful enough, really. I didn't know that his hand or his deck really had the juice to be able to do this, but it looks like he's well on his way to powering up another Zorora, which is surprising. And let's see what Jarrett's got. He's got a Lightning. He's got the Thunder Mountain in his hand. So the Thunder Mountain is an option, and he's got Energy Switch, so he can make it happen here. Oh, he doesn't have Energy Switch. He just has Thunder Mountain. I don't see Energy Switch. He's got Electro Power. He has not GX'd yet, so I think he's looking at a full voltage GX here. But if he uses full voltage GX, Brady's got to be feeling pretty good about his odds. And that's what Jarrett goes for. Just has to full voltage GX. He's allowed to attach 5 basic energy from his discard pile to his Pokemon in any ways he likes. He's clearly going to, smack them all onto the Pikarom and say, oh, Brady has Guzma. So I think he may just have it. He top-decked the Guzma there. He's just going to look for the final energy he needs. He's excitedly grabbing them. He's got the Guzma, going to be able to take out that Lele for game. Or just actually the active. He doesn't even need the Guzma. He can actually just, my bad. He hits 210 right on that Zorua. So he's got it. Jarrett would have had game next turn with the Pikachu Zekrom. Actually, no, he wouldn't have. Because I'm just thinking out loud. He would not have. He already GX, so he actually could not have won that game next turn either. Because he would not have been able to snipe that 170 with the Picarom's GX attack, having just used full voltage. So that's it. That's all. Brady will go on to be 3-1 here at the Full Grip Games Wednesday night tournament. And we'll see shortly if he is the victor. I have to see how the other matches end up here. And then we'll bring the winner back for an interview before we sign off tonight. Our winner
Barlow. We actually didn't have him on stream at all.
is Andrew Barlow. Okay. So a player, unfortunately, we were not able to get on stream, but here he is. Andrew Barlow. So, what deck did you play, Andrew?
I brought Coco Passimian.
Coco Passimian. We didn't get to have you on stream.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Tell me about your Coco Passimian deck and the matches that you played today.
All right. Coco Passimian, I played Malamar, which is a really good matchup. It's another big tech I added was the Jirachi.
Okay.
Jirachi and the skateboard, just so you can clean out the Oranguru and the Marcargo, so you would just have more gas in the deck.
Right.
So if I found using Jirachi to find the energies and the items to keep going.
Excellent.
And that was I just spread that game and just Malamar's just...
Oh, yeah. Coco spread like a few times. And then are you playing Electro Power in the deck?
Yes.
Okay.
There was 4 Electro Powers.
So that's super good.
That was really good. I took like two back-to-back knockouts on Inkay because he staggered him a little bit.
Uh-huh.
But he unfortunately stuck one Inkay up.
Okay.
The first turn, so I was Electro Power and killed it while it only had 40 HP left.
That's super good, yeah. Because I felt like the Coco strategy against Malamar sometimes was falling just a little bit short for me without the Electro Powers. But now that Electro Power's in the deck, it's just like you could easily make that work and just take all your prizes at once.
Yeah, and that actually worked. I played Jesse in the last round with his Poltergeist.
Yeah, Gengar Mimikyu, yes.
And I managed to prevent him from ever getting the Almastar up to item lock because of that, because he got ahead and then I had Counter Catcher and Electro Power.
Oh, that's awesome. So how many hit points does that fossil have?
Yeah, 60, so I actually there's also 3 Kukuis to help.
Oh, so you just took care of it. Yeah. Counter Catcher, Kukui, Electro Power.
And then just Shrine and just slowly hitting into the Gengar Mimikyu.
Right.
Because
so long as you're controlling how many items in your hand, he's not going to be dealing too much damage.
It's rough because he has Peking Red card and the Passimian Psychic Week. So unfortunately, it only does if I have 2 items, it just
one hit KOs the Passimians. Yeah.
Yeah, but able to recur it and not having item lock. So my rescue stretchers were always up.
So you beat a Malamar deck. You were able to beat the Mimikyu Gengar deck, and then what was the final deck you were able to beat?
Lost March.
Oh, yeah,
that's
just free win.
Especially, like, even if they shit with the Electro Powers, it's just even easier matchup. Just because you Electro Power, kill the jump left, don't even have to worry about spreading to it.
Excellent.
And then the Marshadows and Natus just add up.
Excellent. Well, congrats on your win today, Andrew. Apologize we weren't able to get you on stream, but hey, tell you what, we'll stream you round 1 next week.
All right.
If you show up. We'll gladly do that, get you on stream and get you some camera time, all right, bud?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, and congrats again. What are you going to get with that store credit, man?
Probably just save it.
Save it. Hey, that's always good. Yeah, we'll use it next week or whenever. If anything does good at Oceania, we're ready to go. Awesome stuff, man. Well, thanks for joining us tonight, Andrew.
Thank you.
And congrats on the win, man.